It's 1805. The Russian Empire is reeling from its catastrophic defeat at the Battle of Austerlitz, where Napoleon crushed the Russian and Austrian forces, leaving Europe in chaos. As Russia struggles to regroup, the Persian Empire, seizing an opportunity, decides to strike. Their ruler, Fath Ali Shah Qajar, sends 40,000 troops into the Caucasus region to capture key Russian fortresses and assert control. But the Russians don't have much to fight back with. In the rugged terrain of the Caucasus, where the land itself seems to resist invaders, a small contingent of 8,000 to 10,000 Russian soldiers is all that stands between the Persians and victory. Among them, the 17th Jaeger Regiment, led by Colonel Karyaghin, is about to embark on one of the most heroic stands in military history. Imagine standing on a desolate battlefield, surrounded by mountains, with the sun setting behind you. In front of you, an army of 40,000 men, cavalry and artillery, hell-bent on your destruction. You have only 493 soldiers at your back, and no reinforcements are coming. You're outnumbered, starving, and fighting for survival. What do you do? This is not a Hollywood movie. This is the true story of Colonel Karyaghin and the 17th Jaeger Regiment, the 500 Russian Spartans who stood their ground against an unstoppable Persian army, holding them off for almost a month. Karyaghin's regiment, only 493 men, was ordered to reinforce the Russian garrison at the fortress of Shusha in Nagorno-Karabakh. But they never made it there. On the banks of the Shabulag River, they're ambushed by a massive Persian force, an advance guard of 10,000 horsemen. With no chance of retreat, Karyaghin orders his men into a battle formation, a tight, impenetrable square. The Persians charge with full force, believing the Russians will break under the pressure. They were wrong. The 17th Jaeger Regiment stands its ground. For hours, the two sides clash. The Russian soldiers fight with a ferocity born of desperation, while the Persians, despite their overwhelming numbers, struggle to break the line. The Russian soldiers take heavy losses, but cause even greater damage to the Persians, who start to lose their nerve. By nightfall, the Persians retreat, bloodied, shocked, and bewildered by the Russians' resolve. After the battle, Karyaghin leads his regiment to a nearby defensive position, 15 kilometers away, and fortifies it into a makeshift walking city. The Persians, unwilling to suffer more losses, begin firing artillery at the Russians, trying to break their will. But Colonel Karyaghin is not backing down. In a bold counterattack, the Russians march out of their fortified position, seize the Persian artillery, and throw it into the river, rendering it useless. The Persian army, stunned by the audacity and courage of the Russians, begins to realize they are dealing with no ordinary soldiers. But the price of victory has been high. After another day of relentless fighting, Karyaghin's regiment, now reduced to around 300 men, knows they cannot hold out much longer. The next move must be made. With the Persian army closing in from all sides, Karyaghin faces a brutal decision: fight to the last man or attempt a dangerous escape. The choice is made. Under the cover of darkness, the Russians silently eliminate Persian sentinels, preparing for their breakout. But just as they're about to break free, the Persians spot them. A frantic chase ensues. The 17th Jaeger Regiment flees through the rugged terrain, desperate to find refuge. In the midst of the chaos, the Russians manage to find a nearby forest, where they vanish into the trees. The Persians, now realizing they've been outfoxed, halt their pursuit. The Russians reach the fortress of Shabulag, battered and exhausted, but determined to keep fighting. They fire a single artillery shot, blasting open the gates. The Persian garrison, seeing the remaining 200 Russian soldiers as they come out from hell, abandons their posts and flees. The Russians quickly reinforce the gates, but the Persians soon regroup and lay siege once again. Inside the fortress, Karyaghin's men discover there's no food. Everything was left behind in the previous position. Starving and surrounded, the soldiers know they must break out again. Another council is held, and once more, Karyaghin leads his men into the night, leaving a few sentinels behind to mislead the Persians into thinking everything is normal. As the regiment marches towards the next fortress, they come across an obstacle, a deep ditch that blocks the path of their heavy artillery. Without the artillery, their chances of conquering the next fortress, Murat, are slim to none. What happens next is one of the most gut-wrenching moments of sacrifice in military history. Without a word, 4 soldiers, knowing they will die, lie down in the ditch so the cannons can pass over them. The weight of the artillery breaks their bones, their blood staining the wheels of the cannons. But 2 soldiers, miraculously, rise from the ditch and continue the march. They move forward, their will stronger than ever. On July 8th, after days of constant movement and near starvation, Karyaghin and his men arrive at the village of Kusapat. Here, they finally get a moment to rest and eat a proper meal. But soon, Persian cavalry attacks again, capturing their 2 artillery pieces. Karyaghin's response is swift and fierce. "Forward! Save the guns!" In a heroic charge, the 100 remaining Russian soldiers fight off the Persian cavalry and recover the cannons. They push on to capture the fortress of Murat. On July 15th, after nearly a month of brutal combat, General Chichianov arrives with 2,300 reinforcements and 10 cannons. Together, they break the Persian army for good. The Persian forces, shattered and demoralized, retreat, unable to keep up the fight. The 17th Jaeger Regiment's bravery had given the Russian Empire the precious time it needed to regroup and launch a counteroffensive. This is the story of the 500 Russian Spartans who defied all odds. Their courage, sacrifice, and determination in the face of overwhelming adversity saved the Russian Empire from disaster. They fought for days on end without food, without hope, but they never broke. Colonel Karyaghin and his men proved that no matter how small the force, no matter how dire the odds, the human spirit can still triumph. If you enjoyed this story of unyielding bravery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more epic historical tales. Share this with your friends who love history, and tell us in the comments, what's the most epic stand you've ever heard of in history?